Welcome to Northernlights. I'm Dwain.
I'm Mark.
And today we're going to ask the question, has trash talk gone too far? So as I said, we're going to talk about trash talk and if it's gone too far. And so for those who don't know, Masvidal stalked Colby Covington on Instagram, found out which restaurant he was at, tracked him down, sucker punched him and ran away. Then he got arrested and now he's going to court, I think in about a month's time. So it could really have, real repercussions for his career in the UFC. And sort of the whole thing that brought it on is trash talk because Colby sort of ripped into him and his wife. And sort of what do you think about that in general, Mark, with Colby trash talking Masvidal?
Well, I'd have thought, honestly, with obviously they've got a court date and everything coming about, I think that's so plainly obvious now that it is an act. Colby in general, his trash talk, his character, because the character of Colby would have been, I'm going to fight you in the street. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's clear that was him switched off. Yeah. Chaos Covington was switched off and he's just Colby, exactly. But it's like, it clearly got under Masvidal's skin. But do you remember the lead up to that fight? Because that was the main event. We was like, the press conference is going to be better than the actual fight. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
And it was terrible. It was god awful. They were just like bickering. Because I was still semi-half believe that they're probably still friends and they were like, you know what, we could make this fight. But then after that, I was just like, I don't think so. They were just, like the actual bickering. But I've seen comments, because obviously in this day and age, it's not just in interviews where you can get a hold of someone, you can get a hold of someone's skin. It's online, it's Twitter, everything, if you see them in the gym, wherever, all that kind of thing. And I've seen the things of Colby when he visited Jorge's ex-wife.
Yeah. And,
he was posting pictures of him with her and everything. And you're thinking, like...
It is bad, isn't it? It does feel like it's going too far. But at the same time, it does sell fights, doesn't it? That's the real crux of it. And I enjoy it.
It's like they said, Colby's a great example with that. Like, you look at the end of the second Usman fight, for that little 5-6 seconds that they were close to each other, and he says, if you turn the audio up, you can hear him, I'm just trying to sell the fight, it's all love. And Usman gets that, but it's just that little bit that you got, and then straight back to Chaos Colby, the character Colby. But in the post fight, someone asked him about, the mutual respect. He's like, no, I don't respect a cheater. It's obvious, it's to sell, and to create controversy. Controversy does create cash, to quote Eric Bischoff there. But,
100%. And then has Masvidal taken it too far? Has he taken it too personally? Because he had the same issue with Ben Askren. He had the same issue with Leon Edwards. Can you be attacking people outside of the octagon, like for this trash talk?
Yeah, well, it boils, how many times has he said it, where I'm from, you get punched in the mouth for saying that kind of stuff and all this kind of, but that's his sort of street fight esque, isn't it? That's where it is. And when he said, there's a heavy price to pay for talking about my family and everything, it's like, you got 25 minutes to make him pay the price.
Exactly.
And he got dominated by Colby,
Yeah, exactly.
Not by Ben Askren, but but your boy Ben.
We don't talk about that, Mark, on this channel. We don't talk about Ben Askren. Yeah.
Like the Men in Black, you just had that erased from you.
Yeah, he never signed with UFC. He was a dominant champion in Bellator. He never signed with UFC. He never fought Jake Paul. Let's forget that ever happened.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But that's the thing, isn't it? Like, he had that long to do something about it in the cage.
Yeah.
And it clearly got under his skin because Colby, it's kind of hard to say what's right and wrong, because some people have said some god awful things in the past. You look at someone like, let's go a little bit further back, like Chael Sonnen. I personally thought his trash talk was excellent. I thought it was like a script from Attitude Era wrestling.
100%.
But he was sort of, like the Muhammad Ali rhyming, the slangs and all that kind of thing. He kind of had a bit of that. And a good
Yeah,
mix of everything. He was
definitely.
quick with it, wasn't he? But I don't think he was ever too personal with it.
Well, sometimes, like, with Tito talking about his wife, his ex-wife, and the only way she made money. And
I stand
even Phil
corrected.
Sutton, yeah.
Yes, yes, that's true.
And that's the thing. I think how many people, Fedor and all that, he really got under people's skin. He did really wind people up. And, you can tell with Shirley is a character, is a persona, because, as good as his trash talk was, it did feel very very
Scripted.
much like he thought about it ahead of time, like he'd written it down. Okay, this is what I'm going to say. Because unless he's like the best freestyler ever in the world, it seems almost impossible to get those perfect sort of rhymes and patterns. And so obviously he's clearly a character, because since he's retired, he doesn't really talk like that now, unless he's talking about Tito. He hates Tito still.
Yeah. The thing,
but,
it's because of anything. I suppose I know it's a very different sport, and you can't really relate it to everyday life. But a rival company of yours, Dwain, or something like that, then they start talking about your personal life. You can't really relate them, but in the sense of that's work, and people have done wrong in the personal lives. Everyone has, and you think bringing that up, it does sell fights, though. That's the thing, because imagine if. You do like to see the good sportsmanship, but imagine if every single fight was, a great competitor, great fighter, I respect him and all that kind of stuff. You do get them a lot, like any Rob Whittaker fight. Yeah. But then you look at the other ones, that's where, you tell your friends who might not even be a fan of UFC, you got to watch this. They hate each other.
Exactly. It's exactly that, isn't it? Because it's great, like you said, when fighters are really respectful of each other. It's still enjoyable. I think because we're big fight fans already, there's an investment there, isn't there? Because it's about who's going for the title, what position they're going to be in the division, and things like that. But no matter what, when you've got two people who really hate each other and there's this built-in rivalry and story, it just makes it all the more exciting, because it feels like there's more on the line. It feels more personal, doesn't it? It feels more embarrassing for them if they lose. And talking of embarrassing losses, we should probably move on to Conor. Like, he's probably the most modern trash talker, isn't he? He's sort of the most reputable trash talker at the moment. And sort of, I think Chael Sonnen made an interesting point about Conor, and whether, because he's sort of been exposed of who he really is, like good guy Conor when he fought Cowboy and Dustin, and he does all these charitable causes. Like, what is he really like as a person? And this trash talk, Chael made a point,
back, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And Chael said that he's an entertainer till the last second. So even when his legs broke, he's on the octagon, he starts talking about Dustin's wife. He's still, is he trying to entertain us as fans, or is he just not a nice person? And it's finding that balance of who these people are and what they're trying to do, isn't it?
Well, there's the sense of, like with Conor, look, I'm not a Conor fan, but in his trash talk, especially in his featherweight run, some of that was some of the most quotable lines in UFC history. But then you get the sense, when I think Khabib had just retired, and he put out a tweet, something like, good always prevails, evil always fails, something like that. And Conor had just replied, so COVID is good and your dad is bad. Things like that. And you're like, there isn't a fight scheduled. You've already been battered by Khabib. There was no need for that. I know he might have apologized for it after, but still, it's like, for me, something like that, something as personal as attack like that is, a sorry doesn't fix that. That was still typed out and sent, and I don't like the trash talk, the personal trash talk. It's not necessarily a new thing. Like, you remember have you seen the Mike Tyson interview? I can't remember who was fighting or who he was speaking about. He's in the ring afterwards and that, and he's saying, I want to eat his children and all this kind of stuff. Do you remember that? Yeah. If you can't, go back and watch it if anyone's listening. But so that was, when late 80s, early 90s sort of thing. It's a continuous thing. And now, just because we've got exposure to Twitter and, you can communicate with someone at the tips of your fingertips, it just seems...
And that's the thing, isn't it? That's the big difference. Like you said it earlier, now we've got Twitter and social media, and there's the difference between trash talk and what you say on Twitter, and they're so interconnected now. But I think Conor, for example, I really like his trash talk, but I hate the way he speaks on Twitter. I don't think it works. I don't think it builds up a lot of fights. But I guess it did really help with that third fight with Dustin because they were having all that Twitter beef about the charity and stuff like that. And that added a lot of emphasis of we don't like each other now. And it built up to that.
Yeah.
So it is difficult.
Well,
but
that was
overall,
the sense
I
of
think it's...
you wonder, like we said, so they had the featherweight fight, then they had the lightweight fight where it was nice Conor, and then in the third fight, it went back to trash talking Conor. And you wonder if that was a sense of, right, it's 1-1 now. I've got to amp it up now. You know, there might be some people like, if they listen to this, they're like, of course it is. Of course it is. But you go, well, or did that loss just set him back down? Of actually, you know, like I really don't like this man now. It would have been fine if I beat him. I'd have been continuously just being my merry old self. But you know, you wonder what the motive was behind turning back into trash talk Conor, because I know it's all personal opinions.
I guess Dustin started it, right? Because, you know, he was going to give money to charity and he said, look, where's the money going to? And he didn't get any response. So then he didn't give the money. And then Dustin called him out on Twitter about not donating the money. And that rubbed Conor up the wrong way. And I kind of get that. I'd be annoyed as well. Like, you know, that's something you've offered to give some money to charity. It's more, I guess, more business sense than personal. But, you know, Dustin started it. So then Conor, you know, attacked him on Twitter, I guess. And
I mean, we wouldn't know the full story, but I mean, if someone was promised money for a charity as well, and then if they didn't pay up, and you're like, you've got to be a little bit quiet. What's happened here?
Well, it's the opposite way around, isn't it? Well, at least that's what it appears to be. Is that Conor said, "Where's the money going exactly?" And then he didn't get a response from that, and he said, "Well, you didn't respond to me." But that's what makes it difficult, isn't it? And so I think overall, it's very hard for us to decide. Does trash talk go too far? And sort of where's that biting point of that's a bit too much to this is really entertaining?
I think the thing is, with trash talk and offense and everything, it's all sort of subjective, which always, no matter where it leaves its mark, it will leave a little grey area, doesn't it? Because what you might find too far, I might find fine, you know. So it's just a sense of a few things escape, don't they? Like Colby and Masvidal, and you just think, maybe that should have just been, you know, recoiled back. But, you know, it is what it is. And it does sell fights at the end of the day. And that's their primary goal.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's all we've got time for. Thanks, everyone, for listening. If you can like, subscribe and comment, it really helps us out.